Hello and welcome everyone, and welcome to the VooPlayer Q&A webinar. We will be getting started in a couple of minutes, but before we do, could you just confirm that you can hear my voice as well as see my screen, which should say VooPlayer Q&A. So just a confirmation check that we're all right with audio and video, so then we can get started. Thank you. All right, sounds like we got a couple of confirmations and it seems like everything is in order. So we're going to get started. Just a brief introduction before we do. My name is Peter and I am the product manager of VooPlayer. We are holding these weekly webinar calls in order to answer any questions which you as users may have, also to provide any training on any advanced features which you're curious about, accept suggestions from you guys on how we can improve, as well as to showcase any new things that we've developed. So the format of the webinar is, as most of you are familiar, at any time that you have a question or you came prepared with a question, just feel free to drop it in the chat box in the webinar, so that way we can just answer them in the order that they come in. So don't be shy. We had a lot of types of different questions in the past, and all of them help us to gather feedback and to better understand what the use cases for VooPlayer really are. There's no better way for us to find out than from you guys directly as users. So with regards to the progress on last week, we are bringing 2017 to a close. So we're kind of conducting a post-mortem review of everything that we've done in 2017, as well as putting together a roadmap of everything for 2018, where we want to take the product in the new year and all of the new stuff which we want to implement, and some of the old stuff which we want to start focusing on improving, the enhancements which we are planning to the technology and the infrastructure of VooPlayer to make it even more reliable and faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of covering most of our efforts right now. That kind of planning effort for 2018 is kind of what we're focusing on. So we're not necessarily developing any major things currently that are in the pipeline. A lot of the stuff that we're covering are small feedbacks that we've gathered from users, as well as to implement some fixes to bugs and so on and so on. So no new major things to talk about this week, except for the fact that I would just like to state that we're not at a year's end yet, but we did have a great year in 2017, and then that's been primarily due to you guys as users and the feedback that you've provided. So we just had a great 2017, and I'm really excited to share the roadmap which we're gonna have for 2018. Probably next week. We're still kind of trying to figure out where everything can fit and how the team needs to grow and restructure in order to accommodate that. A lot of moving parts there, so we're putting some finishing touches on that, and hopefully by next week we'll be able to present that. Let's see. Dean is saying, question, will we be having webinars on the 19th and the 26th? Yes, on both of those. So both 19th and 26th, there will be webinars. Not necessarily sure too much about 26, but definitely for the 19th. So I'll talk a little bit about the schedule. I don't think there's any impacts and major overlap with the holidays, so I think we should be good there on both the 19th and the 26th. Graham is asking, hi, could we have an extra Q&A at a later time? a later time in what time zone, Graham. If you could just specify which time zone you're in, that can kind of help us to figure out how to accommodate that. I usually one thing that I think is really missing from these webinars is some sort of a system where people can ask some questions in advance so that we can have them prepared and are able to answer them live. Say 5-6 hours later than now. Yeah, so the problem with that, Graham, just so you are aware, we are on European time, our development team, and we are holding this call at 6 p.m. European time, meaning that you're suggesting that we hold it at midnight our time. So that's not necessarily something that would work out too well for us. But that's what I was trying to get at, is that if we had some prepared questions up front and some sort of a system to collect those questions in a way for us the webinar, that's going to be I think productive as far as us being able to answer them and then record the webinar and provide everybody with a recording the following day or that evening, depending on the time zone. So yeah. Shade is saying, would an integration with membership sites be possible in order to track each member's video viewing stats in a membership site? Actually, that is one of those things that I just mentioned that we are working on. So that was a question from last week's webinar, and I believe you asked it, and actually we are currently working on developing that function where you would be able to identify all of the members from your site easily and track them in your VooPlayer analytics to quickly understand their engagement and performance. So the only way that you would be for certain that you sorry, let me back up a step. So in VooPlayer, let me just pull up an application just so we can take a look at it. So I don't know, I'll take this video. In the application itself, there are several things which we do to group different views and assign them to a viewer. One of those things is the IP address that you have, but of course people log in from different networks and they are not always using the same device. So also in combination with that, we also have the cookie which we're assigning to every view that comes in, and then we later on look if the new view has that existing cookie, and if not, then we're creating a new one. And additionally, if your video has an opt-in box of some sort, or you're collecting an email as part of your video, that way we're also able to associate them with that email. So realizing that no matter what the combination of those three factors, email, IP, or cookie that the user sends us is sufficient, because they could be changing devices, they could be, as I said, just logging in from a coffee shop, what have you. So there's a lot of different variations there. So a new method of grouping different views and assigning them to the user will allow you as a membership site to provide a custom ID of any sort. So this could be your membership ID that they have on their platform, or any sort of an identification like an email or a ID number that you want to assign to them, and you could quickly just send that data over together with the view of the video, and that way you will be able to group them on your own terms, which would be even better and stronger, I believe. So that's one of the enhancements that we're making. So that way, if you're able to pass any sort of a custom parameter from that membership site, which would identify that user, we will be implementing that soon. We started working on that this week, so it should be not too long before we're able to release that. Let's see, Graham is asking, prepared questions would work too. Yeah, I think so. usually, and it gives, it's definitely nice to discuss something live on the air, but in some scenarios a question may come up which could be fairly complicated to answer without a prepared demo or walking through a bunch of steps. So that would also give us time to prepare some answers to more complicated questions, and maybe even draft some demos of how something can be accomplished. Because if somebody asks a question which requires detailed step-by-step instructions, that might be difficult to set up in a live environment. Shade is saying questions could be posted in the Facebook group under a particular post that you create, say 24 hours in advance. Yeah, that's a great idea. So hey, we have an upcoming webinar starting tomorrow. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment and we'll answer them. Yeah, that could work great. Let's see. Shade, thanks. Looking forward to this. Player rocks. Glad to be of assistance and to continue providing you with more and more value. Graham is saying posted questions will work as long as Petter understands them. No offense. None taken. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions. Not thus far. William is asking, do IPs get tracked if one code is shared on multiple sites, clients? Do IPs get tracked if one code is shared on multiple sites? Basically, in summation, where if you have one embed code or 20 different embed codes, or you're pasting those 20 different embed codes on 200 different websites, it really doesn't matter. The IPs which we are tracking are based on the requests that we're getting from the users or the viewers' computers. So basically, if they're on the same network, doesn't matter which site they're visiting or how they're visiting it or which video they're watching, the IP is the same. So it's just an IP address of that computer. So if that computer is used to view 10 different videos on 20 different websites, all of them are going to be grouped under the same viewer in WooPlayer Analytics. So hopefully that answers that. It wasn't too convoluted. Hopefully I understood it. Let's see. Also, as I said, we will be having the, let's see, Shade is saying, how does WooPlayer compare with Vimeo's video on demand service? I'm not necessarily sure what that is. Let me just Google it. Or is that video on demand service? If I understood that correctly. Let me see. Video on demand, yeah, probably. All right, stream and download file, films and series online on demand. Let's see what that is. Unrest, buy now, watch trailer. Are you more interested in the quality of the video offering, or are you talking about the actual ability to the service offering which they're providing, such as listing stuff? I'm not necessarily sure how this works. So host videos, compare plans. Let's go there. So I want to compare plans in Vimeo Basic, Vimeo Plus, all right, Pro. All right, so here's the main difference. So you have Vimeo as a hosting provider. You have Facebook as a hosting provider. You have Google as a hosting provider, or YouTube rather as a hosting provider. So these are some big name players which have access to some big technologies and large infrastructures and large investments in the same, which run it up to billions and billions of dollars. Unfortunately, we are not at that same level as far as the infrastructure which we want to provide and facilitate. However, we are continually optimizing and continually investing in improvements which we want to implement. So that's really a big part of what we're planning for 2018, is a big reinvestment in the technology stack, and particularly in the content delivery network for the speed of the video, so that we're able to serve it much faster. And performance is, of course, strong, if not a key factor in delivering videos to your users. As I said, regretfully, we're just not up to match Facebook or Vimeo or those big brand names. However, our kind of approach, while we're, as just to reiterate, while we are striving and are continuing to invest in those improvements, and there are some big improvements which will increase the performance in 2018. Our kind of hope is that small, and we are talking milliseconds here, that small difference in performance, which we are still lacking but are trying to achieve, we are definitely accommodating for and making up in all of the different functionalities and relevance of video offering to you guys as marketers, as coaches, and so on. So as well as the ability to definitely work together with you guys in order to develop something that makes sense for you. I really doubt that at any point you can go to YouTube or Facebook or Vimeo, if you are hosting their videos there, and say, hey, I want you to develop a new feature for me that's gonna match some of my needs. I really doubt that they'll be as receptive to that as we are. So hopefully, as I said, in future, we want to definitely come much by the feedback implementation that we have, as well as the relevancy of all of our features across everything. So let's see. Shay's also saying, can this functionality be set up in WooPlayer? Functionality to what? Have a pay-per-view system of some sort. So from what I see, the OnDemand allows you to watch videos if you pay for them. So let's say I wanted to watch this See No Evil movie. And I'll come here, and so let's say I click here, see what happens. So to purchase, join Vimeo or log in, you can rent it or buy it. All right, so there's not such a complicated system of payment processing for WooPlayer. There is an integration, and we haven't necessarily seen many utilizations of this, so this is primarily why it hasn't been developed thus far. But I sincerely urge you to check it out. So if you come over here to Audience Events, and under locks, the last option, which you're going to see here, is pay-per-view. So what this lock does is it creates a payment lock, and then you can just come in here and create a lock like you would an opt-in lock or any other lock, style it, and so on. However, where this gets interesting is that, and here are the instructions on how you can do that, is you would go to PayPal and you would create a specific button for people who would be charged as much as you want them to be charged, and basically on the success of their payment, they would go back to the video, and then we would recognize that they via the information that PayPal provides us, we would verify their payment, and then if the payment was okay, then the video would be unlocked. So you can have, I don't know, like if you have you can configure this in many different ways, but you can say that if a video has 10 minutes, and you can play up until the second minute to get really interesting, and then when their interest really peaks, like a trailer, for an example, you can add a payment lock there and request them to finish that payment, and then once they finish with processing through PayPal, then that's going to be verified, and the video is going to be unlocked. So that's kind of the basic setup that we have. It's something that we wanted to provide, but as I said, didn't necessarily have much use cases that we saw or feedback that we were able to gather from users. So that's why that hasn't been developed further. There are some plans which are on the back burner to also support different payment processors, not only PayPal, but also integrations through Stripe if you have a Stripe account, and so on and so on. So those are all things which we're considering, but until we get some actionable feedback from users on how they're trying to leverage this, and that's kind of our methodology, trying to kind of follow the users and see what their use cases are, and guide the product in that direction. All right, let's see. I believe it can be done using a membership site, and VooPlayer can host the videos. Yeah. All right, Andy saying, on enterprise, how many clients can we have? What is the bandwidth limit per month? Sorry if this is a basic question. I'm new here. Not at all. Welcome, Andy. We're really glad to have you. You're definitely joining a good community and a good discussion here. So I hope that you will become a regular. So let's just take your questions one at a time. So how many clients can we have? You can have as many clients as you want is the short answer to that. So I'll come over here, and I need to create a site really quick because I don't have a site. So do I need a logo? Yeah, let me just get, I don't know, some image here as my logo. So this is going to be my sites, and I don't necessarily think I need any of this. I do. I need, let's give this a domain, and I think that's all I need before getting started with clients. All right, so now that I have created my site, and you do that under my site and clients, you're able to start creating sub accounts or your. So if you want to act as an agency or as a reseller of VooPlayer, you're able to, with some enterprise licenses, get one free sub account, but that was a special promotion that we're running. But on regular pricing, you can come over here and say, I want to buy a sub account license, and you will get one sub account license for $10 per month. So you can buy an unlimited amount of them, and people usually buy one, and then when they get a request for another client, they just come back and purchase it. So as far as a couple of things to note here is your second question was with regards to bandwidth. So the bandwidth on the master account is usually, I have it here just because I'm special at 1,000 at a terabyte, but it's usually at 200 gigabytes per month for any enterprise account. So the regular bandwidth limit is sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at storage. So bandwidth limit is at 200 gigabytes per month, and you can always buy additional bandwidth packs to expand that. So one thing that's important to note here is that those 200 gigabytes are what we are referring to as turbo bandwidth. So the turbo bandwidth is served over a high quality content delivery network, which costs a lot of money to communicate and send data via that network. So that's why we have to limit that and charge that. However, once you've utilized those 200 gigabytes of bandwidth per month, your bandwidth gets throttled or downgraded back to basic bandwidth, which is just served over regular hypertext protocol. So that way the videos are a bit slower, but you can utilize an unlimited amount of that. So if speed is not of such importance to you, you can allow your videos to be played at regular bandwidth speed or at slower than turbo speed. However, so you get 200 gigabytes to start you off on monthly basis, and you can always buy expansion packs of additional 100 gigabytes, 500 gigabytes, terabyte of bandwidth to meet your needs. One additional thing to note is that if you have some videos which you want to play fast, but you have some which are not so important, and you're kind of trying to be conservative with your spending and with your videos, you can, for each video, so let's take this video, you can come over here to the video settings, and on individual video basis, you can say, I want to disable turbo bandwidth for this particular video. So that means that this video is never going to be served over turbo bandwidth. So that's also an additional way of restricting that. So that's for everything that I talked about for bandwidth is with regards to you. As far as the your clients go, they also are getting, I believe this is a mistake also, these are some test accounts, but I believe they're getting 10 gigabytes of bandwidth per month. Additionally, it is worth noting, I don't know if you maybe saw when I was setting up my site, is that you as a master account, you have the ability to determine the price of both storage and bandwidth for your clients, meaning that when they are requesting purchases of bandwidth and storage, then they are paying the price which you determine. So that's an additional thing to keep in mind. All right, let's see. Andy is also asking, on enterprise, can we customize or white label the embed code? Yes, of course. So here I do believe I have one example of a domain that I have set up. So I'll set that as my custom domain, and you have detailed instructions on how you're doing that and how you're setting up that masking. So I'll set that as my custom domain, which I've pre-configured already. So I'll just come over here and save my site now, and then come back over here to my videos, and that way that custom domain is going to just act as a mask of the WooPlayer application. So when I come over here to say, hey, I want to publish this video, then all of my embed codes are going to be using that domain, which perfectly works. So if I come over here and try to open up that in a new tab, you can see that video playing. So this way I've masked the WooPlayer logo, I've masked the domain, basically nothing is left. So yes, you can also mask the custom embed codes by utilizing a custom domain. Over here in my setting clients, when you're setting it up, you have an option to configure a custom domain, and here are the detailed instructions on how that's achieved. All right, let's see, what else do we have? Please add ThriveCart for pay-per-view. Yeah, definitely. Let me just make a note of that. ThriveCart. I've never heard of that. So we'll take a look at that and see what feasibility we have there to accomplish such an integration. Shane is saying, I noticed if a timed overlay has been set, the video still plays ahead of the player timeline. Ooh, that's interesting. I haven't noticed that ever. So if that is happening, there's certainly a bug. If a time overlay has been set. Oh, sorry, overlay. I thought you meant locked. If a timed overlay has been set and the user jumps ahead, the video still plays for the users to hear. Is there a way to disable the video from playing in the background when user jumps ahead on the player timeline? No, that's a really interesting use case. If you can give us a real world example of how that could be helpful, we might figure out how to accommodate that. Otherwise, if you really wanted to stop the video, you should not use an overlay. You should use a lock at that point. So the purpose of a lock, really, rather than an overlay, is that's the basic difference. The lock pauses the video, whereas the overlay is just over the video as the video continues playing. So that's the difference between the locks. All locks, they only have a lock time, meaning that at that specific time the video is going to be locked and what you're specifying is going to be displayed. However, the overlays and annotations have a start time and an end time, meaning that they're just going to last for that duration of the video. Andy is saying, when client is purchasing additional data, do they pay us as the reseller? What is set up to get paid through WooPlayer reseller? All of the interactions on the payments have to be done directly between you and your clients. Otherwise, they would see WooPlayer on their bank statements, which is something that you as a white label seller should try to avoid if you're trying to hide WooPlayer, of course. And we necessarily don't want to take responsibility for that relationship which you have with your clients, meaning that the price which you set is completely between you and your clients. So you set the price, they see that price, you agree on how they want to pay you, and after they've completed the payment, you are basically dispersing the amount of bandwidth and storage that you have in your account. So basically, you buy from us, they send your request, you accommodate, you facilitate that payment from them to you, and then you may disperse the data which you have from us to them. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, there's detailed. I urge you, Andy, if you haven't thus far, to head to help.woolplayer.com, and over here you can just look up white label or reselling my clients. Sorry, that's called my clients. So you can just go to my clients, and here we have a lot of that information explained. And I think there's another article already there. Let me see, managing clients, setting up a custom domain, and my clients. So a lot of that information should be explained. And if you have any questions at any time, Andy, just feel free to just drop us an email at support@woolplayer.com with any specific questions, so that way we may be able to answer them more directly. Use case maybe to collect emails. Yeah, so if you're trying to stop a video, then definitely just use a lock rather than an overlay. That escaped me for a second. All right. It looks like we're running out of time. So if there's any final questions, now would be a good time. Otherwise, I just want to thank you, everybody, for attending today. Welcome to Andy. Hopefully, he will become a good part of our community and provide us with some good feedback in the future. Let me just think if I had anything else. I don't think I did. Dave gets the honor for the last question. Could we set up a playlist and charge for access to complete playlist? Oof, nope, that's not current. At least currently, you can, but I definitely see what the potential benefits of that are. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think you could even charge for a funnel or a video contest or an A/B test. You know, the pay-per-view feature would only work for individual videos, but that's definitely something that they'll add to our feedback as takeaways from the webinar, so that we can log it. So once we get rolling on that pay-per-view lock, then we can figure it out. All right, really time to wrap it up now. So again, thank you everybody for attending and for continuing to attend and helping us improve WooPlayer. Hopefully this has been helpful. If we haven't gotten around to answering any questions, or you come up with something else in the meantime, feel free to either send us an email at support@woolplayer.com. We'll put the replay of this webinar both on YouTube and Facebook. So you may also post comments there. All right. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.